Okay, y'all, I just looked at the footage and I just realized that the video cut like the majority of my body off. I'm so sorry. I look like a floating head for the entire recording of this, but you know what? That's okay. I couldn't see myself because I was trying to use the back camera. Yeah, I'll just use the front camera. Sorry, y'all. All right. Well, there you go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bible Said What podcast. My name is Elizabeth, and I am your host. If you'd like to get to know a little bit more about me, a little bit more about the podcast, be sure you go check out our social media at Bible Said What with underscores between the words. All right. It has been, y'all, I'm so sorry. It's been like a month since I've posted an episode. I've been a little bit more active on the social media side of things, but I have been wrapping up my semester with finals. I am the site director for the camp that I worked this year. Come on. So I've been doing a lot of work to prepare for that. And unfortunately, podcasting has just fallen to the wayside. But it's also because I have been pre-recording episodes to post this summer. So just going to set a little precursor. That's not the right word. Just giving you a heads up. I'm not going to be as active on social media during the summer because I will be a whole dang site director. I'm going to be on leadership. So I'm not really going to be able to pour into that as actively, but I have pre-recorded podcast episodes, hopefully that I can post every week. I'm still working on recording a couple before I go, but we're going to record a series on Ephesians, going through the book of Ephesians, which I love. I've already recorded with some guests that have just amazing topics, so I'm really excited for you guys to hear those this summer. Also, if you are also going to a summer camp, we need to bond. I think camp counselors are some of my favorite people on the planet. Maybe that's because camp is just like my personality in an event, if that makes sense. I love camp so much and I love camp people. So maybe you're a staffer, maybe you're a camper if you're going to camp. I hope you have a great summer and I'm going to be praying for you. But going off of the idea of it being summer, I'm going to talk a little bit about our topic for today. So last year, I did a little episode on, I think it was 5 or 10 things that you need to know before you go to college. And I talked a lot about what college looked like, gave some of my big sister advice. I don't have little sisters, at least not related by blood, but I feel like the Lord created me with just a sisterly heart. I love having younger girls to pour into. I love having relationships with little sister figures. I just think it's the best. And so you guys are bringing out my inner big sister today. But today we're going to be talking about what to do with the summer before you go to college. If you just graduated high school, you have this awkward 2 or 3 months when one door has closed and another window is kind of open. But it's still just this awkward moment of you have closure, but at the same time you don't because you're still there. And it's really weird and no one talks about it, which makes it even more weird. And so that's what I want to do today. I want to talk about how you can use the summer before you start college wisely and how you can use that time to prepare your heart and prepare your mind for this next chapter of life. And I'm going to be talking about some practical tips, but also some spiritual tips. But before we get into talking about the summer, I did do a little Q&A on my podcast asking incoming freshmen, okay, what are your questions? And then asking upperclassmen and alumni, what is your advice? So I have a list of those. Also, I'm recording on my phone, not my computer or not my camera, because I forgot some of my camera equipment in my apartment. I am home for the moment. But the lighting is doing some weird stuff right now. The sun it has a mind of its own. So yeah, it's getting really bright right now. So if you're watching the video episode, I apologize. But honestly, it's kind of fun using my phone. This feels more like girl talk, you know? Not that this isn't applicable for dudes. If you're a dude, you are so loved and you are so welcome here. Okay, getting back, we're going to start with the Q&A from the incoming freshmen. So some questions that you guys had. I picked 5 from each category. The first question that I got about going to college is college as stressful as people say? Here's the cool thing about college. You have this newfound independence. You have more autonomy with your school and with your school experience than you have pretty much ever before. And so truly, truly, you define your college experience. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But is college stressful? There are some factors that you can't control. Like if you are going into biochemistry, if you are going into neuroscience, that's hard. And every major has its own version of hard. And there will be times where you have 3 papers due in a week. There will be times when you are very stressed out about an exam that you need to go to. But as far as your schedule goes, as far as any internships or jobs you may take on, your level of involvement, there's a lot of factors that you have control over that is really cool. Now, me personally, I don't think I've had a very stressful college experience. I have loved my college experience so far. Y'all, the Lord has blessed me so richly I'm just looking back at who I was before I started college and now. College is such a time of growth, and there are growing pains with that as you're maturing and as you're learning. But overall, I wouldn't say that college was stressful for me. I would say that I have grown a lot and that I have overcome a lot of personal challenges, but I wouldn't say that it's stressful because like I said, there's a lot of things that you can control with that. So is college as stressful as people say? I seriously think it depends on the person. And if you go in with a mindset of, okay, I'm going to set good boundaries with my time, with my emotions, with my availability, with my academics, I'm going to set a good structure. If you go in with that mindset and you already know like, okay, I'm going to do these things to avoid being overwhelmed, then you will be set. That will go really well for you. So the next one is, how do you find the right church? I love this question. So here's the thing. I actually did not find the church that I really settled at until this year as a junior. So I had attended 2 different churches, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. The only wrong way to find a church is not going, if that makes sense. So I know my freshman year, me and my friends, we called it church hopping. We church hopped a lot. Now, I go to a school in Birmingham, Alabama. If you don't know anything about Birmingham, Alabama, it has the highest number of churches per capita in the entire United States. So I had a lot of options, which is partially why I didn't really find the church that I wanted to settle at until this past year. But as you're church hopping, just have a couple of standards that are important to you that aren't necessarily like physical things. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm going to give you my example. So as a freshman in college, I went church hopping, specifically wanting a church exactly like my church back home. And here's the thing, every single church is unique. And so maybe the worship style was different. Maybe the college ministry had a different dynamic. Maybe the preaching style was a little bit different. Every church is going to be different, and you are not going to find a church that is exactly like the one that you had back at home. And that was something that I really struggled with because I was at my church back home for 15 years. Like those people in that church raised me, and I love them so deeply, and I'm very blessed that I still have relationships with them. And so that's another thing is whenever you go in looking for churches, don't go in with the mindset of I want a church exactly what I have back home, because you're probably not going to find it, just because also the relationships aren't the same. They're not as deep. And so go in with an open heart posture and an open mind. When you are setting standards for the type of church that you want, think more things like, okay, I want them to have this theology. I want them to have this heart posture during worship. I want them to have this type of community. And so that way you're not setting very specific things that at the end of the day don't really matter. Y'all, the church that I grew up with, contemporary worship. I'm talking electric guitars. I am talking environmental projection. Do you know what I mean? Like the big projection of the backdrop on the wall, the lights. And so that's what I grew up with. And so that's what I thought. And I liked it. I thought it was wonderful. The church that I go to now, pews, stained glass, an orchestra, a choir, hymns. Y'all, traditional. And there's nothing wrong with either. As long as the heart posture is the same, there's nothing wrong with either. But whenever I tell people from back home that I go to a more traditional style worship service, they're all like, whoa, that's super different. But both churches had the same passionate heart posture for worship and for the Lord. And the theology was very, very similar. And that's what was really important to me. So that was a long answer to a short question. How to find a church. Number one, go. Just get out there. Even if you have to go by yourself. I went to church by myself a lot for the first few months of freshman year. But you get to know people the more you go. So first of all, get yourself out there. Just do it. The second one, make a list of things that are important, that are not physical about the church, but are about their beliefs and their theology and the traditions that they follow, and make sure it aligns with what you believe and how you want to be poured into. So that's how I would say to find the right church. I also had one more thing on this question. I also had a friend who, the way that he did it is he was like, okay, I'm going to do research. I'm going to pick 3 churches I'm going to research and find 3 churches that I know align with my theological beliefs. And then I'm going to stay at each church for 1 month. And then I'm going to find which one suits me best. And that was a great option for him, because what that does is it allows you to kind of get both feet into the feel of the community, and you can really decide, okay, is this the type of community that I want to be surrounded by? So that is another good option. Okay, this next question, I like this one. How to pick which clothing to take. I think this one's funny because this was a question from an incoming freshman and a piece of advice that was given by an upperclassman by a girl named Izzy. She said, don't bring all your clothes. Oh my goodness, Izzy, you are so right. Do not bring all of your clothes to college. First of all, you are not going to have a lot of room in your dorm room for things like clothes. You're going to have pretty limited closet space. So what I did is I brought all of the clothes that I knew that I would need until fall break. If you're not going home for fall break, maybe you live too far away, bring everything that you need for Christmas break. And also condense as much as you can. So for me, y'all, I graduated from a private Christian school and I wore khakis and polos every day. And so that was my wardrobe. I went to college and I had no idea what my style was. I love my friends who have walked alongside me. I went through a second awkward phase my freshman year of college just because I had no idea what to wear. I had no idea what I was doing. But as for which clothes to take, go by season. That would be my best thing. Also, if you high school t-shirts, think about it. Are you really going to wear t-shirts from your high school in college? Or something that I struggled with was my Letterman jacket. I loved my Letterman jacket, which is so fun in high school. But once you're in college, you're not in that era anymore. And I mean this in the most loving way possible. People don't care whether or not you have a Letterman jacket. And it makes you look more like a high schooler. And so things like that, whenever you're going through your clothes, try to think, okay, how does this make me feel like I'm still in high school? Is this celebrating an era that has already passed? So just keep that in mind as you're packing. That one's hard. Choosing clothes as you're packing for college, it's really emotional. At least it was for me. And that can be kind of difficult. Okay, moving on. How to balance your last summer with work and fun. We're basically that's kind of what this whole episode is. And so part of me doesn't want to fully answer that question. I would say if you are, there's 2 types of people when going to college. There are the students who are so ready to be there, and then the kinds of students that are so not ready to go. I was in the don't want to go category. And so if you're scared, if you're afraid, it's really easy to try to kind of make yourself busy, make yourself not think about it. Think about it. Make yourself process it. I know that it's hard, but make yourself really get closure, honestly. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And balancing work and fun. Yeah, just making sure you have time to spend time with the people who mean the most to you before you leave is really, really important. But at the same time, there is a lot of work and preparation that has to be done before you go to college. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. And then finally, I'm going to a Christian college. Any advice on that? Guess what? I go to a Christian college. I love it with my whole heart. It is so wonderful. However, there are, of course, drawbacks with everything. No college is perfect. I would say that my 2 biggest pieces of advice when going to a Christian college is, first of all, make sure that your faith is your own. I know at my college, once again, I'm at a private Christian college in the buckle of the Bible Belt, which is a huge blessing. I am so thankful that I live in a community of people where Jesus is celebrated and encouraged. But make sure that your faith is your own and that you're not falling into that cultural Christianity. Make sure that when you're going to chapel events or if you're going to on-campus ministries, make sure you're not doing that for social pressure, but because you genuinely want to be surrounded with good community and you want to pursue Christ with these people. I know a lot of times those events can be more social events than spiritual events. But just make sure that you are checking your heart and doing this for the right reasons. But that being said, it is so fun going to a Christian college where the majority of people celebrate your walk with Christ because it gives you the most amazing people to walk with as you grow in your faith, which is so fun. So that's my first one. And then my second one is try not to stay in the bubble of that Christian college. I'm not saying go party. I am not saying, no, that's not what I'm saying. But maybe get an internship with a secular business. Maybe make sure you're getting out in the community outside of your campus and make sure that you're not staying in that bubble. That is all of the questions. Sorry, that was kind of long. We're already 15 minutes in. You know what? This one might just be a longer episode. We'll buckle up. That's okay. Okay, so the first piece of advice, don't bring all your clothes. Correct. Go by season. Second, the friends you meet at orientation may not be your forever friends, and that's okay. That's advice from Allie. Allie, absolutely. There is so much pressure whenever you initially get to college to instantly meet your best friends. That is not going to happen. There's a big expectation of developing these deep relationships within your first semester of college. And some people you may meet and you absolutely hit it off. I have a couple friends from freshman year that I met and we immediately clicked and we are best friends now. But your initial friend group probably isn't going to be your friend group all throughout college. At least it will shift and change in a couple ways, and that is completely okay. I know for me, I was used to having relationships with these friends who had known me for 15 years. And then whenever I went to college, all of that history just wasn't there. And so there's a layer of depth to friendships that your heart is going to crave, but it's also not realistic. And so that's a hard part, is it'll feel a little lonely at first, not because you're by yourself, because you don't feel known. And so that's when it's really important to be patient and also don't spend time with people just because you're lonely. Don't surround yourself with bad community that is instant just because you want friends. We see in Proverbs that bad company corrupts good character. And as you are stepping into this new phase of autonomy, you really need to make sure that you are intentional with surrounding yourself with good community. So, and that is exactly what Ansley said. It is normal to feel lonely at first. Everyone feels lonely. It is not just you. I pinky promise. Ask people to go eat with you in the caf. Go sit down with somebody in the caf. And if nothing comes from it, that's okay. Y'all, there's a group of people. I have never said a word to these people since. Whereas like me and 3 or 4 other people freshman year where we just went out to Waffle House one night and we had a great time, but we had nothing in common and we didn't develop that deep of a friendship. That's completely okay, because one day you will go to Waffle House with a random group of people and they will be the best people that you've ever met. And you will click and it will be wonderful. Me and one of my best friends now, one of my roommates now actually, we became best friends because she needed a ride to a pumpkin patch and just randomly reached out in a group chat and was like, hey guys, I need a ride to the pumpkin patch. Who can drive? And I was like, oh, I'll drive her. We get in the car, instant connection. And now we're besties and I absolutely love her. It's Laura Brooke, the one with the really curly hair. She's awesome. She's been on the podcast before. Okay, Zach says, find ways to get involved in campus life. Great way to meet new people and form friendships. Absolutely. You have to put yourself out there in college, which is really scary. But for example, one of the ways that I found a lot of my friends is through intramurals, intramural sports. So much fun. A great way to get involved on campus, and you meet people, and because you're on the same little sports team, you instantly have something in common, which is really fun. So yeah, it's really tempting when you're a freshman. It's very tempting to want to stay in your dorm, to want to go out to eat through a drive-thru instead of going to the cafeteria. But honestly, that is how you adjust, and that is how you meet new people, is being comfortable in the uncomfortable and just knowing ahead of time, like, okay, this might be a little awkward. I might have some social anxiety, but you know what? We're going to go out there and we're going to do it. I've dealt with a little bit of social anxiety before, which I know sounds ironic because I have a podcast, but it's so true. But one of the things that my counselor has given me, one of the pieces of advice, is whenever you're dealing with that social anxiety, pretend like it is a cat in a backpack. It may be raging, it may be clawing away at you, but when you put it in the backpack, you zip up that backpack, it is contained, and you can put that backpack on and you can still carry on throughout your life. The cat is undeniable, and you can't push it down because don't hit the cat because that'll just make it more mad, but it doesn't cripple you. You can be courageous and still go out and do things with it carried but tucked away. And you can also pray through that as well, being courageous with situations like that. So finally, last but not least, it's only been 20 minutes. My bad, y'all. I meant for this to be like a 10-minute segment. I got carried away. So sorry. All right. Luke says, don't fear school. Look at it like a tool. God wastes nothing. That kind of rhymes, Luke. There you go. Whether you have good days or whether you have bad days, the Lord is going to use both to grow you. College is such a time of immense growth and immense change. And that's going to be hard, but it's also going to be so amazing. And you're going to be able to look back. I'm not even all the way done. And I can already look back and say, wow, the Lord is in every single fiber of this woven tapestry of this 4 years of my life. So don't be afraid of that. I was very, very afraid of change going into college. I wanted to go to college, but I did not want to go to college, if you know what I mean. And I was very, very afraid of it. And don't be afraid of it, because for good or for bad, the Lord is going to work it for his good and for his will. And as long as you are obedient and as long as you are walking hand in hand with him with an open heart posture, he is going to use that for his will. And we just have to align our will with God's will. And guess what? When our will and God's will align, then we get our will because we get God's will. It's a wonderful little paradox. So, all of that being said, we are going to get into how you can use your senior summer well. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. If you just graduated and you are an incoming freshman, if you're starting college in the summer, first of all, I want you to know that I see you. I understand. It is such a weird time because you've had graduation and you've had all of your lasts with school. You've had the senior nights and things. And so there's this level of closure where your high school era is very much done. That door is closed. But at the same time, you're kind of in limbo because you are still in your hometown. You are still surrounded by your same friends for the next 2 or 3 months. And it can be a really strange feeling. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm not a high school student, but I'm also not yet a college student either. And it's weird. It's weird because you're trying to get closure, but also get preparation at the same time, which seem contradicting, but that's just the reality of what the situation is. And so what I want to do now is just go through some practical tips. I have 3 practical tips and then 3 spiritual encouragements that I want to give you for how you can use this time wisely and how you can be productive and intentional with the most awkward 3 months that you will ever experience thus far. So my first tip is a practical tip. We're going to do the practical and then the spiritual encouragements. The practical first one is go through your room. Now, I know you're probably thinking like, duh, Elizabeth, I have to pack. Of course I'm going to go through my room. But here's the thing. I don't just want you to go through your room and, be like, okay, I'm going to take this. I'm not going to take that. I want you to actually go through your room and look at pictures of some of your favorite high school memories as you are going through maybe your journals, your closets, your drawers. I want you to reminisce on those valued memories. Have a good cry. And I want you to thank the Lord for the memories that made you who you are and prepared you to go to college and what prepared you for this. And maybe even if you have some old stuffed animals, if you have not toys because you're in high school, but maybe some clothing that you're not going to wear in college anymore, I would encourage you to give that away to some younger kids or younger girls with that as well. I had a bunch of Squishmallows and I gave away some Squishmallows. Dude, have your Andy and Woody Toy Story moment. It actually gives you pretty good closure. But what that's going to do is you are giving a graceful see you later to this chapter that has come to an end. And it's not necessarily saying a sad goodbye. It's a grateful goodbye. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. Seuss is, "Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened." And so as you're going through your room, adopt that heart posture of, wow, these are the memories that made me who I am today, and these are the memories that have equipped me for this next phase of life. And I'm not going to, completely shove them aside. I'm just going to give them a graceful goodbye and a see you later, and I'm going to cherish you in my heart. And so that is a great way to get some closure. My second practical tip is find a way to give back to your town and give back to the people who poured into you before you leave. For me, the summer before my senior year, before my freshman year of college, after my senior year, I was able to intern at my church with the children's ministry. And let me tell you what, that was really cool because I grew up in that children's ministry. And having that experience of being able to pour back in was a great example of how, all right, they have raised me, they have poured into me, and they have equipped me to pour back out. And because they have done that, they have shown me that I am equipped to go into college, into this next phase of life, and to lead and to share the gospel. And it's a full circle moment, which is really cool. But what that's going to do, first of all, it's going to give you closure with whoever has poured into you, whatever experience has grown you to who you are. I mean, it doesn't have to be as literal as a children's ministry, but that's going to allow you to see, oh, you have equipped me, you have prepared me, and I can be confident walking into this next phase of life. And so I think that's cool. It doesn't have to be as big as an internship. Maybe it is just babysitting for a family that has really loved you throughout the years. Maybe it is going to a food pantry in a neighborhood, maybe that you lived in, and pouring back that way. Volunteering with your church. I think volunteering with the church is really a really cool way to do that, especially if you were at a church like me for a long time, being able to give back and pour back into them. And then my third practical tip is make a list of 3 to 5 words that you want to define your college experience. And after you do that, I want you to brainstorm how you will make those happen. So what this is going to do is this is going to help get you excited and prepared for the future. The past 2 tips have been about closure and about saying, see you later. But this one is to get you excited and to build anticipation for your college experience. Also, like I said a little bit at the beginning, you define your college experience. And so maybe you want your college experience to be defined by community. So that'll be one of your words. But then also brainstorm, okay, how am I going to make my college experience defined by community? I'm going to get involved in a campus ministry, or I'm going to get involved with this club. I am going to join my church college group. And so that way you have kind of a plan and you kind of have your feet under you of, okay, this is how I can accomplish this goal. Okay, so those were the practical tips. Now I want to talk about some ways that you can spiritually prepare yourself for the future. I was talking with one of my friends who he's about to be a junior, but he has a little sister coming in as a freshman who I am so excited because she's coming to Sanford and I'm just pumped to meet her and to spend time with her. But he was giving some really good advice as someone who has been through it, but also is wanting to prepare someone that he cares about very much. And he was talking about how the summer before your senior year, you can get so caught up in preparing the physical things that you completely forget to prepare your heart. And so you go in and you're not prepared for the temptations that come along with college or the spiritual challenges or the spiritual warfare. And so that's what I want to transition to now, is talking about how we can spiritually prepare our hearts for this new change of, oh my goodness, now I suddenly am the one who chooses, do I go to church? Do I pursue this? Maybe your theology is going to change. And so I want to talk about how you can prepare yourself for that as well. My first tip is get coffee with a mentor. Sit down with someone who knows you and loves you and truly wants the best for you. Ask them to pray for you, voice any concerns or anxieties you might have about college, and just have someone older and wiser than you walk with you through that and pour into you through that. I know for me, I would love getting coffee with the people who have poured into me since like middle school, because I know that they truly have my best interest at heart, and they are also so wise, and all of their advice is rooted in the Lord. And so that way, when you are in college, when you go to college, you feel a little bit less lonely because you know that you have someone on your team and you have someone cheering you on and you have someone who loves you the way that the Lord loves you. Second piece of advice is form a habit of getting into the Word. A habit takes 21 days to form, and trust me, you want to develop that habit before you go to college. If that is something that is important to you, then you don't need to wait until college gets there to start that habit of getting into your word and having time with the Lord. Because once you get to college, it's going to be a lot harder. There's going to be a lot of things dividing your attention. And so you want to go ahead and get that started now during the summer while you have that time too. Also, the summer is wonderful because it's a time of rest, and you can truly be intentional with taking Sabbath with the Lord, and you can fill your cup to the absolute brim before you go to college in a setting where you may have to pour out a little bit more. I love having breaks, having summer, even just like spring break, fall break. I love having space where it's just me and the Lord, like time space. Now, the Lord is not like a phone charger. He does not need a certain number of weeks or a certain amount of time to fill our cup to the absolute brim. But whenever you form that habit of getting in the word every day, that is going to hold you accountable when you get to college and there are other things that want to pull you away from the truth of Scripture. Also, I didn't have this necessarily written down, but this is a good piece of advice that my mom told me before I went to college is have a set of answers ready for how you'll respond whenever a temptation arises. So thinking like, okay, I want to make sure that if this situation comes up, I'm going to say no. If this comes up, I'm going to say no. And so that way, whenever a temptation arises, you don't get caught in the moment and you're like, I haven't thought about this. Because your flesh is going to want to. Your flesh is going to be like, whoa, we have all this new freedom. Let's go live it up. Let's go party. Let's go underage drink. And if you already have the mindset of, I am not going to do those things, I'm going to follow the truths of Scripture that I get into every day, you're going to be a lot more prepared. The armor of God is going to be on and engaged, and it's going to be bulletproof. And that is exactly what we want as we are stepping into this new phase. That's why we have the stories of freshmen going crazy, whether they're Christians or not, is because they go into college and their hearts aren't prepared for it. They're not prepared for all of the temptations. Also, not even necessarily temptations, but just change in general. You change so much your freshman year. Not necessarily in a bad way or a good way, but you just mature and your worldview opens because you meet all of these new people from so many new places with so many different worldviews, and it just broadens your mindset. And so because of that, you change, and your view on the world is just going to be different, and that's not a bad thing. But we do want that to be directed and guided by the Lord and his wisdom. I think during your senior summer, if you read one proverb a day, that is a wonderful way to, number one, develop a habit, because there's 31 proverbs. There's 31 days in a month. You can read one proverb a day, but that's going to form your habit of getting to the word. And also, the book of Proverbs is literally a book of wisdom. That's going to help equip your heart and your mind to step into that next phase. So, my last one is this. Pray for the people that the Lord is going to put in your life. Now listen, you may not meet those people until your sophomore year. Two of my best friends, I did not get close to. Well, one of them I didn't really get close to until like this year. But the other one I didn't get close to until sophomore year. Your friends, you may not meet those people immediately. But if you pray for the people that the Lord is going to put in your life, whether they are your best friends, whether they are your friends for a season, whether it's your professors that are going to be pouring into you, be praying that the Lord will guide them so they can guide you towards the Lord. If you are going to a college that is not a Christian university, and even at my Christian university, I've had professors that are not Christians, but especially if you're going to a non-Christian college, you will probably encounter professors who are going to challenge your faith, who are going to question your faith, or may just be downright crazy. Go ahead and pray for them. Pray that the Lord will soften their hearts as they teach you, because they do still have valuable things to teach you as they're your professors. Whether you agree with them or not, you can still learn from them. And just be praying that the Lord will, guide every heart that you come into contact with. And so that way you know that the people that you are going to encounter, the Lord has planned that. He's been intentional with the people he's going to surround you with. Pray for community, that you will find the right people for you. Pray for, just pray for the people that are going to be around you. Well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is all that I have for today. If you are in the summer before your freshman year of college, you're doing great. You can do this. I truly, truly am praying for you that you can walk through this season with grace and with the love of Christ and with wisdom. And overall, don't be afraid, because the Lord has a plan for you and He is going to walk alongside you. And guess what? The Lord's will is going to be done whether you want it to or not. And He has plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So I hope you find encouragement with that today. All right. I hope you all have a wonderful summer. I will see you later. I think next week we're going to start our series on the book of Ephesians. I will be gone. So by the time this episode is going to come out in like 2 days. So I will still be here when this episode happens. If you have questions, please DM me. But know that in like 2 weeks, I will probably not be here and I probably won't be able to respond to a lot of DMs. So awesome. There we go. Thank you for everyone who contributed to this as well. I hope you all have a great day and a wonderful summer. You got this. Bye.